and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Bird's Brain Podcast, presented to you by How You Doing Media. That was horrible. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, I've been sick, so I'm going to do it again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Bird's Brain Podcast, presented to you by How Are You Doing Media. I think last week was a bad week. I took off because I was miserably sick. At the end of the day, it's just like I wasn't feeling good, so I'm not gonna upload a podcast episode. I'm not gonna do anything like that. Still a little stuffy, but we're getting over it eventually. Anyways, we got a lot to talk about today in today's episode because I'm not a happy human being right now. Not that I'm like sad or upset or anything like that. It's just I'm feeling the emotion of happiness in other regions, but these topics, I'm not. I feel like I'm fed up with the situation and understanding that I guess at the end of the day it needs to be addressed. Probably not by somebody like me because I say all the wrong things when you're supposed to say the right things, but these are just my hot takes and you can say whatever you want about it. Listen, let's get right into the episode. Anyways, here's the deal. At the end of the day, I don't even think I wanted to talk about this. I'm not the person in the position to be able to talk about this kind of thing. For one, I wouldn't label myself. At the end of the day, I wouldn't label myself as like an ethically right person or whatever you want to say on the social standards of the world. I believe in a lot of different things, and I think at the end of the day, I can also collectively say sometimes I'm not the greatest person in the world, and also holding myself accountable. I don't practice what I preach sometimes. Sometimes it's just the way it goes. I tend to preach these things out and then make a transition into believing, the things that I've read that I feel are impactful and maybe possibly at the end of the day are the right answer. But I can confidently say sitting here right now that there are times in life where I do not practice what I preach. That's just me needing to make a change at the end of the day, and eventually I will. But anyways, let's get into it today because I can't sit back. What do they call that? Like lie in wait? I can't lie in wait anymore because I feel so passionately about this. Like it's a situation of, just grow up. Previous conversations we've had, like, there's no way that you're this dumb. There's, some things we've got to change. But number one on the list for me has got to be a lot of these guys out here in today's world understanding that they're like, if you believe in the Bible, you are a provider. I've had a lot of conversations with people across the board, whether it's a man or a woman or whatever. But at the end of the day, it kind of looks a little bit like this. In the Bible, it says that you're a provider, your wife submits to you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But you are the protector and the provider of the household because you are appointed the head of the household once you find a significant other, have children, whatever the case may be. You're the head of the household, so you're the one that protects and provides. So the first thing I want to say at the end of the day is it's time to grow up. I've had to take a lot of sacrifices in my life, understanding that sometimes it's not, my situation is a little bit different because I'm a small business owner and I have to like go out and do these things to grow my business, and that consists of like still going out. But we're to an age now that I think we need to grow up a little bit. There's some guys out there that have girlfriends and they have families and all that stuff, and they still want to go out and they want to party and do all these things, whatever. I can't speak too highly on it because I'm not in that position. Okay, but I do think at the end of the day, we still need to grow up a little bit. We need to understand that you can't be a child your entire life, say and do the things that you do without some sort of repercussion. These notifications are going to make me so mad, actually, but nonetheless. Here, that one I feel like is not that big of a deal at the end of the day because, if you read the Bible, you understand what I'm talking about. But there's just there's just so much that goes into it at the end of the day because, you are a man. And we've had previous conversations like, you're a man, so you don't need to talk about your emotions, and you don't need to do these things, but also you need to be vulnerable in the right situations and blah, 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 whatever. But at the end of the day, I feel like first and foremost, here's what I have to say. You owe it to yourself to always deserve better. I'm not saying like you're in a bad spot now, so leave your wife, abandon your kids, whatever. But you owe it to yourself to be better in your situation. To be better. And this all coincides. It's all going to coincide at some point when we talk about all these topics. It'll be a roundabout way, and it'll all resort back to Jesus because it always does. That's why, I live my life. That's the way that things go, and the universe has aligned them. It will always resort back to Jesus. But at the end of the day, you owe it to yourself to be better. And I can't remember the saying fully, but it says what you're not doing is what you're choosing. Or something to the effect. I don't know. I wish I could sit here and act like I knew. But basically, what the saying is, it's getting at or saying is that you say you need to change, but you're choosing to be the exact same way that you've always been. You say that you need to do better. You say that you need to do this different and start working out and taking these vitamins and doing better and all this, but at the end of the day, you're still choosing to live the horrible lifestyle that you continue to live and you feel like junk. But as long as you're allowed to tell yourself that someday you will do better, it gives you, that ounce of gratitude of like, oh, I will get there to that point at some time in my life, and I'll be okay at some point. But right now I'm going to give myself a little bit of gratitude to tell myself that eventually I'm going to do that. And you never make the change. You never have that day one moment. Because like I've said in a couple other, video, my digital footprint, Dwayne Johnson says one day or day one. And for me, a lot of the times, I just started taking, I'm talking like a fistful, like my entire palm size. If you can't, there's no like, okay, I have a 17 Pro Max and it's the size of my hand. So if you have a 17 Pro Max, you know how big my hand is. I take this amount of pills, my whole hand basically, every single day because I knew that my health was deteriorating, and I'm only 22 years old. I was waking up with more pains than I needed to. My joints hurt. I didn't feel good, whatever. And I knew that I had to do that. And I told myself for a week, I need to start doing this. And then finally, I went to the store, I bought them, and I started taking them. And I've felt substantially better ever since I started taking them, and that was a while back. But also at the same time, I've told myself, I need to start going back to the gym. I need to start doing these things. So I'm putting those in place to where now I'm eating healthier. I'm not eating fast food as much. I'm taking vitamins. I'm doing all these things. And now I'm going to start going to the gym. I have a specific date in mind of when I want to go back to the gym and start doing those things because of how filled up my schedule is and understanding that I need to, slowly work that into my routine. But at the end of the day, there will be a day one for that because there has been day ones for so many other things. And I understand me preaching to the choir that it is a situation of I owe it to myself. I owe myself the duty of doing better. And there's a lot of men out there that I just don't think do. They go through the hoops of life and they're like, well, I guess it's just another day. I guess we're just going to sit here and slam my triple cheeseburger. And I was in the same conversation. I was in the exact same boat. I was eating the triple cheeseburger with added bacon, grilled jalapenos, and every vegetable that you can find. And I justified it by saying, well, there's vegetables on it, so it's got to be good. It's beef, so it's got to be good. But we don't understand how bad the things are that are in it. But what I'm saying here is you owe it to yourself to be better. Stop telling yourself that you're going to do these things and then never really doing them. Sit yourself down and say enough is enough. I posted a TikTok on my personal account a while back. And it really rings true to me because I post those things because they have happened to me. Every single social media post that I make on TikTok, on my personal account, is something that I have experienced in life. And that was one in specific. Looking myself in the mirror at the fat, disgusting, whatever you want to call it. People say I'm not fat, but I know I'm fat because my BMI is just way too high for what I prefer to be at. And so I told myself in the mirror, enough is enough. We get to the point where now we're in the moments of change. And I'm on an uphill climb. You know, there was a point where I was really healthy in life. When I was back in high school, you know, I weighed 205 pounds, was sub 20%, sub 15. I don't even know what my body fat was, but it was really low. I was looking really good, eating right, playing sports, doing the whole nine. Just get out of high school and you just let go. But I understand now, looking back, I tell myself I owe it to myself to be better because I want to be the biblical man. You know, I had a misconception for the longest time. It's like, oh, treat your body as a temple. And I'm like, well, my body's not really my body. It's my spiritual being, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, as long as I'm on this earth trying to make an impact, as I've told so many people, publicly on the internet, publicly in public, in private conversations, whatever, I've told everybody that I want to make a change, but I can't continue to make a change if my health is deteriorating. So I owe it to myself to make that change, and I have. And I feel like there's so many men out there that deserve. They just, at the end of the day, they truly deserve to have that change in their life. But some of them just don't have the discipline. They don't have the determination. They don't have all these things. And I can't even hearing that come out of my mouth, I tell myself that's not true. Because I know that everybody has it at some point. You just have to find it. You have to sit yourself down, just like me, and tell yourself that enough is enough. And, you know, I think about it a lot of times in this situation. You're going to sit there and tell me right now that you're living the best life possible as your wife watches you do the things that you're doing, as your kids watch you do the things that you're doing, just because you fall into the social norms of what the United States or what the world or North America or, you know, all of these people are saying is normal, that's okay all of a sudden. You know, to be honest, at the end of the day, I have so many thoughts of so many different perspectives because, you know, I love to hear people's stories. I love to hear the different perspectives. And in my life, every single situation that I go through, I think of the 8 million different outcomes that it could be. So every single thought that I have, I think about the different outcomes and perspectives that there are. And I look at this one a little bit differently because I tell myself this. If I was a woman that was with me and she was watching me go out to eat, slamming a triple cheeseburger, added bacon with grilled jalapenos, am I, at the end of the day, proud to be with that? Am I proud to watch that happen? Am I proud to watch my significant other sit on the couch and do absolutely nothing and drink 10 beers on a Friday night? Groan and moan 24/7 while I'm getting out of bed doing all these detrimental and horrendous things to my life, my body, my soul, my spirit? No. I'm going to be honest. At the end of the day, no. If I was a woman in that situation, I think that might possibly be, other than some other, like, there's obvious reasons other than that, but I think those are underlying issues of why the divorce rate is so high, let alone in the country of the United States of America. And I'm not, this is like, I have to clarify this so many times because so many people, they get a soundbite and they take it out of context and then they move on and they're like, can you believe what he said? Listen, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not any type of professional. These are my hot takes and my opinions, and you're just going to have to take them with a grain of salt. But I'm very passionate about this situation because of the amount of times in my life that I haven't been good enough. How long and how hard I've worked at being good enough for a specific person in my life, and that's never, ever, ever been enough. So I continue to work at that every single day until I get that one true look in the eyes and hear, I'm proud of you. I sit there and I hear, okay, you can stop now because you've done enough work that I recognize that you are doing enough in this life. And I won't stop until I hear that. And I haven't heard it to this day, and I don't think I ever will. So guess what? Get out of my way. I'm working on this. But another thing that I have to talk about with all of this, because, you know, owing it to yourself is like, at the end of the day, you could go, oh, that's self-centered. But, you know, if I was having the conversation with a woman, I would say the exact same thing. Because it's not a situation of being self-centered. or being this hard ass or this cutthroat, aggressive person. I associate myself with those words because I've heard them so many times because that's what people call me, but I don't take it in a negative tone. I enjoy that part of my life, and I just talked about a friend with that. I talked about that with a friend today. I would never choose another lifestyle other than cutthroat, intense, genuine, brutally honest, and you knowing that I mean well through my words. Because I'm not going to sit here and be nice and tell you, yes, eating 8,500 calories a day and having above 30% BMI is healthy. It's not going to happen. And that's why I would have this conversation with a man or woman regardless of anything. But at the end of the day, that's my lifestyle. That's the way that I feel. And there's a lot of people that can tell you at the end of the day, I'm still a nice person. I'll give you the shirt off my back if you need it. All the money in my wallet. I give you my debit card to go buy whatever you want. Because, that is what truly just puts a smile on my face, is helping others. And understanding that there is truth to that. Bettering yourself is truthful. And it always has been, it always will be. The Bible says it. Okay? But at the end of the day, when we say these things, the conversation, and we're going to take this from all sides, the conversation of people saying, oh, that's self-centered, you're only thinking about yourself, you're doing all this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but at the end of the day, you're going to have somebody to talk to. Men, when I'm talking to you, at the end of the day, the person that you talk to about these type of things is your wife, is your significant other. And if you don't have one of those, go to your mother. If you don't have a mother, go to the next person that's closest to you, whether it's a man or a woman. Women, same goes for you. It's, you got to have somebody to talk to vent things off of, to be able to just open up to and be like, hey, this at the end of the day is what I'm thinking about doing, and I need somebody to tell me whether this is good or a bad idea. And at the end of the day, I've got so many people. I've got my mother, who 95% of the time tells me immediately no, because it's a bad idea and I just need to save money. But then I have Fez, my best friend, and Bradley, my best friend, who I can text and go, hey, I think this is a horrible idea, but maybe it's got some good in it. It might turn out cool. And they immediately go, yeah, I think it's a great idea. We should probably go do it right now. I've said that in previous episodes before, though. But that's the thing, you got to have somebody to vent these things off of. Changing is hard. Change is not something that people are normal with. But there's a lot of people that need to understand that being within your comfort zone only allows you to continue to live the life that you don't want. You got all these great dreams and aspirations and things that you want to do, but your comfort zone is the only thing keeping you from doing those. I've had to jump out of my comfort zone almost every single day of my life for the last 6 months. And that's simply because I filed for my own business. And owning my own business causes me to have to go do things that I never imagined that I would. With absolutely no help. I got to figure it out on my own. Because I don't want help around. Because I know that I can do it. But I have to put myself outside that comfort zone to continue to grow. To continue to be the person that I need to be tomorrow. In 5 years from now. And all of those things. Matthew McConaughey says one of the greatest quotes of all time. He says he had somebody come up to him and ask him who his hero was. And he waited. And he gave it a minute. And he looked at him and he said, me in 5 years. And that person came back exactly 5 years. And said, so are you here? Are you your hero yet? And Matthew said, no, it's me in 10 years. And they came back in 10 years and he said, no, it's not me now, but it's me in 15 years. You always have to be chasing for something better. Because if you're not chasing for better, you're getting stagnant. And that's where you get to the point where, again, we're back in the comfort zone. We're not making any growth. We're not doing anything good or productive or anything like that. You're just jumping through the hoops of life, waiting for the day that you die, and paying taxes in between. And I don't think that is enjoyable for anybody. at all in this life. I know for a fact that's not enjoyable for me because, boy, when I get that tax bill at the end of the year, I am not happy about it. I am not happy about it. But we get into the conversation about talking about my personality, talking about the personality that a lot of other people have, is being cutthroat, being straight to the point, being blunt and honest. I'm going to be honest with you. At the end of the day, I don't take nothing from nobody. If you want to talk a little bit of smack, you want to, go back and forth, whatever. But you better never get genuine. Because at the end of the day, I'm not somebody that you can punk. I may look like somebody you can punk, and I'm built like the guy that you can punk. But I use every resource possible to make sure that you ain't never, ever going to punk me. Because I've worked too hard in this life to become who I am and let somebody else drag me down because of my hard work. And there's, at the end of the day, there could be negatives to that. But I have no idea because I don't look at the negatives. I look at the positives in my life. There's not a single person around me. And, the person that I take the most advice from, that I listen to the most in this life is my mother. And I've always told her, I said, if you get to the point where you got to tell me I'm out of line, tell me I'm out of line. And there's a couple moments in life where she's been like, hey, you need to snap back because you're getting to the point where you're a little too far gone. You need to come back. Start being exactly who you're meant to be again. And then I got to bounce back and I got to start thinking about, why did I get to that point? And I'm going to be honest with you. I ain't heard her tell me in a while that I'm getting a little too far ahead of myself. That I'm starting to do something that maybe she's not comfortable with and maybe I'm not comfortable with at the end of the day. But that's the thing. One of the biggest things I want to talk about there is the negatives. With the personality that I have and being cutthroat, being the person that I was always striving for change and always wanting to be better every single day. The negatives to it. There's going to be a lot. Somebody's always got to have say something. I didn't say that right. Somebody's always going to have something to say. You're always going to have one hater in this world. And I don't know who it is. But there's going to be one hater. You could have 990 million supporters, but there's one guy. Or woman, we don't discriminate here, that wants to be you so bad that they're going to do nothing but devote their entire life to hating on you until they take their last breath. And, at the end of the day, for me, like stereotypically to say this and sit here and be like, oh, this is some bad stuff. This is whatever. We can say whatever. I look at that person with a microscope. Because at the end of the day, for me, my supporters are my supporters. They don't see any right. They look over the bad things. And they say, man, this guy's so great. He does all these great, amazing things, whatever. But my one hater points out every single thing that is wrong with me. Every single minute detail that could change me to be a better person. To where then I have nothing to hate. And I'm being the best person that I can be for every single person around me. And the improvement is at such a high percentage that I've achieved greatness. But the negative side to all of it, every single piece of it, you go, but where do we get to the point where, all of it's bad? My opinion, we don't. But if I have to look at it from a different perspective, the conversation of, it's all of a sudden, you will make these changes. It's all about you. You're this cutthroat asshole that nobody wants to be around and all this stuff. And you say you're growing, but you're doing all these things that don't make any sense. And we're all confused. We don't know. And the only thing I have ever had to say to that is that they'll never understand how bad you will want it. Because you will find that determination within inside of you, and you won't let anything get in the way. You'll be so hopped up on the mission of making sure you succeed that you don't see anything else around you. And I'm on the verge of that point to where I'm just like so locked in. I'm a little bit tired anyways. But that's the thing. I can't, at the end of the day, like, I have to say it like this. I can't talk about the negatives because I don't enjoy talking about the negatives. I don't see the negatives because I don't want to be the negative. I want nothing but the positives because I know that brings me closer to what I need to be. And I feel like this is a lot of jargon at the end of the day because I was like, oh, like it's one of those what is that, like self-help courses or whatever? The guy like Andy Elliott and all those guys are like, spend 10 G's to be who you're meant to be. Join my sales course right now, and you'll find out who you're meant to be. Leave your family and your children behind and make $100 million a month. And it's like, dude, that's not that me. Like, at the end of the day, that's not the point I'm getting at. I'm getting to the point of, here. And here. In your heart, in your mind, in your spirit, in your soul, being that person that God wants you to be. Following within inside of his guidelines. And understanding that it's okay. Understanding that at the end of the day, choosing kindness is the first option. But being blunt and honest sometimes helps a little bit more. While, the Bible says be angry without sinning. I'm not going to sit here and explain that one. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. You get the point. Listen, at the end of the day, here's how I see it. There is and there is not a time to be delicate. Because, full circle moment here, back to the providing and being a man. I don't see it as a position of needing to be this whiny little crybaby 24/7 as a male. You grow up however you grow up. And when you get older, you understand as a man, there is a time to be and to not be a whiny little baby. And I can tell you right now, if there's one in specific moment that I know that you do not need to be a baby and whine 24/7 is in a moment of dire need for whoever's around you. Doesn't matter if it's a room full of complete strangers, you better hold it together. Now, if you can, when that dilemma is over and you can find a private bathroom to close the door, so be it. Go take your person, whoever you vent to, whatever it is, if they're there. You can, day and age that we live in now, you can call them up, you can text them, whatever. Go cry it out. Go talk to somebody. Go figure it out. But don't be running around pissing and moaning to every single person that will listen about, this is why my life sucks so much. I work so hard. I do all these things. Yeah, well, that's what you're supposed to do. So stop whining about it. Don't be a big baby. I tell people all the time, it's so funny to me. I tell people all the time, at the end of the day, I am a complainer. My mom raised a complainer. She really did. At the end of the day, she raised a complainer. But I'm going to be honest with you. All the people around me, they don't really care. They don't listen. They don't. It's like one in ear and out the other with me. Because although did my mom raise a complainer? Absolutely 100%. But I will be damned if I don't get the job done. I'll complain the whole time, but it will get done. And it'll get done in an orderly fashion, a timely manner, with as much respect as possible. And, honestly, at the end of the day, I've started to slowly get away from that. I don't complain as much because I've understood that hard work doesn't take complaining. It just takes shut up and do it. Stop asking so many stupid questions, so many questions that could be answered if you just look around and do the work. But at the end of the day, the moment to it all is have that privacy within your life to be able to be vulnerable in a private manner. Not everybody needs to see that. And I think at the end of the day, my personal opinion is we got to stop teaching that. We got to stop teaching that you can break down in the middle of McDonald's and start pissing and moaning and crying as a man. When did we get to that point? We started out with sending guys to war. Now they got blue hair and hair as long as women and all of these things. It's just, I'm not going to get into that fully, but it blows my mind. It genuinely, at the end of the day, peeves me to no end. But more into the conversation, because I feel like I didn't highlight it as much as well as I needed to, as much as I wanted to. We classify that person to go to, that person to call, that whatever. That's somebody that you can trust. That's somebody that you can call on the phone or meet in person and talk to, and them not blab about every single thing that was said. They're going to turn around and go tell whoever, oh my God, you won't believe what Braden said. He broke down in my truck and he said this, and this, because this has been going on and this has been going on. And I'm just here to tell you all of this because you deserve to know this, because you're my significant other or somebody else that I trust, blah, blah, blah. No. If I can trust you with knowing the information that things in my life are bothering me, that I'm not supposed to bottle up, that I'm not supposed to sit here and just let bother me until the point of explosion. Stop going out and blabbing it to everybody else. Give me enough respect. I give you enough respect by letting you hear this information and being that person within my life to understand that I'm coming to you in this vulnerable state. Don't kick a dog while he's down. Same conversation, man. You get into it like great example. Not in the mantra of that vulnerable that person you can go to vulnerably, but kicking a dog while it's down. I don't know if the UFC fights with Conor McGregor and Max Holloway. He comes out flying switch roundhouse kick, blows his meniscus and ACL, falls immediately. What's Max do? He doesn't go immediately. Well, he did a little bit, but he goes on offense. But he doesn't batter and bloody this guy to a pulpit. He looks at the ref and goes, dude, we are not going to do this. I am not going to ruin this man's dignity for the simple fact that he does not deserve this right now. Because we're 10 seconds into the fight and he blew his entire knee out. I'm not going to kick a dog while it's down. And he said that in his interview. He's a respectful man. In the interview, he said, I hope Conor gets better. I hope we figure out if it was a knee. I hope we have another rematch. I hope we do all of these things. But I am not going to kick a dog while he's down because he's hurting. And it's the same thing for your person that you trust to tell the vulnerable and sensitive information in life. They shouldn't kick a dog while it's down. So, my advice at the end of the day is choose wisely. Understand that you can weigh out your options and, if I play devil's advocate, you could sprinkle ideas out there, blah, 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 and see who's going to talk. See if the information does get out, and if it doesn't, you can obviously trust that person at the end of the day. But here the main thing for me, and this helps me at the end of the day, it helps me out a little bit because of the way that I want to live my life, the things that I believe in, and the way that life just works its way out. There comes a point in time where you come to know Jesus and you understand that that's the truth, and this is where you get your full circle moment of all this whole conversation that we've had. My opinion, truthfully, at the end of the day, this can only happen all of these things, being a grown-up man, being able to be vulnerable in private, being able to be that provider that protects his family, make sure that everything goes okay in every situation, whatever it is. And not only that, but you make those changes to be the man that you need to be. Those cannot and will never happen. I mean, well, I don't know. Just because this is what I believe in, I'm playing devil's advocate, and I do somewhat have a little bit of a bias in this situation, but I have different perspectives, whatever. Nonetheless, in a roundabout way, here's what I gotta say. None of that, in my opinion, can happen without you knowing that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior. Because if I've got to give you a little bit of insight, it goes a little bit like this. You know, you want to get controversial and talk about my topic of going into private and releasing everything that you're feeling all of those emotions and being vulnerable and all that. Talk about Jesus going alone in the garden and crying blood. Talk about Jesus going away privately to pray. Talk about Jesus and all of those moments and so on and so forth of being private to figure out himself, to figure out how he is going to continue living the life that he did. And I may not have said that completely the right way, but I think in a roundabout way we got it. But at the end of the day as well, think about it this way. I can be a testament and a testimony to whatever I've experienced in life. But there's one thing in particular that I'm very, very, very passionate about, and that is my relationship with Jesus. Because for the longest time, I didn't understand what a true relationship meant. You know, at the beginning, I thought it was just reading Jesus' name in the Bible and hearing the stories about him. And then now, it's a situation of understanding that I can have a full-on conversation with him and him talk back to me through the ways of my life. And understanding that if I don't listen to him, I stay stagnant. I stay comfortable. I do all of these things to not better myself. Then I'm not a better man. Then I can't provide and protect. Then I can't do all of these things that I've wanted to do in this life because I don't have any guidance. You know, at the end of the day, I'll tell you, like, every single other person that has one, a mentor is an amazing thing to have. A mentor is an amazing thing to have and to experience, honestly. But you cannot rely on your mentor to walk you through life on crutches. And what I mean by that is, like, you can't have a hiccup in life and then immediately go, mentor, mentor, mentor. How do I deal with this? First, you have to make an attempt. And understand that, you know, you can do this. And ultimately, at the end of the day, my biggest mentor in life is Jesus, because that's what's encouraged with him. You know, it's like watching in The Chosen. You know, there's a lot of times within the Bible, within the stories of Jesus, within all of it, that we read about miracles happening, about, you know, Jesus washing other people's feet, Jesus helping Peter walk on water during a storm, all of these things about Jesus. But the one thing that always sticks out to me is the moment of healing, the moment of miracles. And one in specific is the man in the hut that gets lowered down out of the roof because his friends had faith that this magical man could fix their friend who was never able to walk. And the man himself, standing in front of Jesus. At first did not believe himself. And there's scripture as well that says, "Oh, you of little faith," so on and so forth. That's a long one. But anyways, back to the man. His friends had faith. His friends were the one that sent him down. And Jesus told them, because of your faith, your friend is healed. And I don't know the roundabout way that it went down. And I don't know the roundabout way of how the events took place fully. But I imagine it a little bit from the context of the scripture, going a little like him getting lowered down in front of this man, not knowing exactly what was yet to come. And when he hit the floor, Jesus looked at him, patiently waiting for him to say something. And when Jesus finally looked back up at the roof of his friends crying and hoping that that they could experience a life where their friend could walk, all because this one man, they've heard that this one man heals. And when Jesus says, just because your friends believe, you're healed. I don't think that man immediately gets up and knows that he can walk. Knows that there's been a change. Because what? We've lived our entire life without being able to walk. But in a split-second moment, it can all be fixed. Because we sat there and we listened to Jesus. We trusted in Jesus. And you can have the conversation of the whole friends believing situation. That's a whole nother conversation. But the one we're on right now. And as he sits there in disbelief, Jesus looks at him and goes, I don't know what to tell you. You can walk, and at the end of the day, I'll be here. But you can walk. You can get up and walk out of here and go experience life with your friends. And now do some of the greatest things that you've ever wanted to do in your life. And no matter how skeptical, no matter how untrusted he may have felt, I can guarantee one thing. The man, for a split second, flipped his entire mindset and trusted in Jesus, got up and walked out. And at the end of the day, that's where I look at life. Because that's so impactful to me. Because there's so many different meanings. Not only do his friends have enough faith to hoist him down in front of this man that they've traditionally never met in their entire life. They've been told, "Oh, this man does miracles, so he can make your friend walk." Take him to him. But not only this man then gets dropped down, doesn't even know who this guy is, looks at him and goes, "Okay, so your friends believe in me, you maybe not so much, but you can walk." And no matter the amount of time allotted between the exchange, the man finally puts his trust in Jesus to get up and walk away. There was a change made in a split second, and all it took was the trust. And like I said, I wasn't there. I don't know the full details. I don't know the encounter. I can only tell you what I've read. But in a roundabout way, it goes a little bit like this. You want change in your life? You want to be a better person? You want your wife to love you better? You want to be a better person that's more healthy and fit? Treat yourself with some respect for once. And understand that you deserve better. You deserve the change. And that you are capable of that without needing somebody to constantly tell you that you are capable, crack open a Bible. As my voice cracks. Crack open a Bible. And understand that meeting Jesus will be the change to your life that you need. Don't look for answers. Accept answers. Don't look for justification for your horrible habits and all those things. You won't find them. Find the acceptance for who you are, and then make a change. And allow Jesus to do that. Because I can guarantee without your permission, subtly, without you sometimes even knowing, Jesus will make a change in you. And that just, that for me at the end of the day is just intense. Sitting here in my lone, the only person here is my dog. My lone, quiet house. Listening to my voice echo through the house and lose my train of thought slowly. And lose my mind slowly. I sit here and I say that. Confidently, with every bone in my body. Don't care if I get canceled for it. Not my problem. But it's only because I don't know who you are, and I don't know how much I don't know how much you need to hear it. But you're going to hear it. We all get brought here for a reason. You all hear and see the specific things in life for a reason. I feel like, at the end of the day, that's why you've been brought here. Regardless, man, woman, child, old, young, whatever it is, the time is never too late. And my shitty advice might help you out at some point. Man, just find Jesus, love Jesus. With so much better life. Anyways, besides the point, I got a haircut. I don't know if anybody noticed throughout the entire episode. You probably didn't say anything about it, but I got a haircut. And the old ears lowered. Baby. Ooh, baby. Got the ears lowered. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, that's the episode. I ain't got nothing else to talk about. Because now I'm a little bit frustrated, and I need to go take a shower and calm down and talk to Jesus a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the episode. Thank you so much for watching another episode of the Bird's Brain Podcast, presented to you by How You Doing Media. Listen, I love this company, I love this community, and I love everything that I've endured so far, and can't wait to endure the rest of it. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye now.